Panasonic S1 SR1. So, by the way, welcome to Camera Tech Tuesday. I continue to receive questions about the camera gear that I use and the way I think about shooting, and people seem to like the sorts of things that I do, especially in teaching camera techniques and stuff. So I'm going to call it Camera Tech Tuesday. So that way all the camera related stuff is on Tuesday. If you don't really care about the camera stuff, just don't tune in on Tuesday. It doesn't mean I'm gonna every single week do a video on all these topics. For now, welcome to Camera Tech Tuesdays, where we talk about, what am I talking? Either camera technology or camera techniques to help you make better fishing videos, or for those of you who are interested in the cameras in a different perspective. I am an outdoorsman. For those of you who don't know, I'm an outdoorsman. I'm a fisherman. Number two, he's going with it, man. He's like, I know I'm dead. Again, nice eating size fish. And I'm out there on the river all the time. I'm shooting footage, B-roll, barges, me catching fish, that kind of thing. And I'm very incredibly interested in the newest camera technologies that are out there, and particularly how they relate to fishermen and outdoorsmen. I'm not a photographer at all. I'm a videographer. I own a GH4, and I loved the camera when I first bought it. Then I hated the camera. Now I have a healthy respect for it. But Panasonic just announced, I forget the day, that they're going to make a full frame set of cameras called the S series. They're coming out with two, called the S1 and the S1R. What is full frame? This is micro four thirds. See, and I'm coming at this from a motion picture standpoint, video standpoint. If you go back to the old days of motion picture, you had civilians would use 8mm and super 8mm film to film their home movies. If you have a cell phone, the sensor in your cell phone, the thing that actually captures the image, is only a little bit smaller than the old 8mm film frame from back in the 60s or 70s or even. Then the next, you had 16mm film frame and super 16mm film frame. That was the low cost budget type of film that filmmakers would use, news agencies, documentary filmmakers would use, independent filmmakers would use, because it was much cheaper. This sensor is about 1.5 to 1.7 times, about 50 to 70% bigger than all of that, and so it's great. Then there was 35mm motion picture film frame, super 35mm motion picture film frame. Then we had the 65, and then you have IMAX, which is something like 89, almost 90. You basically, in the old days, you had 35mm and 16mm. For the types of things I do, 16mm is the choice. And the closest we get today to that is essentially micro four thirds, although it's about 50 to 70% bigger, which is actually better. When they talk about full frame today, they really mean photographic full frame, which in the old days of film, the film moved across like this, right? Still 35mm, but the old motion picture film frame rolled down like that. Once you turn the film this way, there's a much smaller profile, much smaller picture area than if you did it horizontally like that, right? You see the difference? A lot of photographers for the first time are having to shoot video. I have to say all this because not everyone knows this. The camera people already know this and they don't want to talk to it, but a lot of fishermen who have just been using their cell phones and action cams, they just don't know this stuff, so I have to cover it a lot, and that's okay. And you know, and I like talking about it over and over, so it works out. Panasonic announced a full frame series of cameras. Although Panasonic has been great about these micro four thirds, the GH4, GH5, GH5S, which is the camera I really want next, but they decided to join the full frame race. Now Sony is kind of king of the hill to that now. Nikon and Canon just came out with two cameras. I won't get into all that, but all these cameras are just, quite frankly, really awesome, you know, compared to what we had in 1960, right? But for Panasonic to come out with that, with the S1, in the press conference, they particularly mention professionals, and it's obvious their idea of a professional is someone who is a National Geographic-like photographer. They're out on assignment and they're running and they're trying to target that audience. Whereas these GH4s are for people like me who are doing videos, some people who are doing video and photo. This camera is really meant to be a hybrid camera that can do both. Whereas it seems the new cameras are more just photo oriented. But they made two versions of it. The S1 is a true hybrid camera like the GH4 and the GH5. The S1R is a photographic centric camera like the G9. What's missing? Where's the S1S? That's what I want to talk about, and I think that's where the magic would be, at least for me and for us as fishermen. Here's why. What Blackmagic did, Blackmagic, that lets you know what camera I really want, right? Okay, but anyway, the GH5, they took the GH5, they snatched out the hybrid sensor they had in there and put in a true video sensor in there. And it can shoot pictures, but it's really a low resolution, high double pumped sensor that has incredibly good low light capability for such a small sensor. What's great about that is you have a camera that's a true video camera that can shoot some stills, as opposed to something like this that was just built as a photographic camera and they just packed in as much video features as possible. Right? It's a different philosophy. So in this realm of hybrid shooters, it's really sort of crazy. No camera is going to be able to do everything equally well. You're going to have to start with a base and then add technology to that to cover what it doesn't do well. You can either start with a photographic camera and add tons of video features, or you can start with a true video camera and just add some photographic still features. S1 and the S1R, great photographic camera, great. I'm sure it's going to be a great hybrid camera. I won't get into the whole flippy outy thing. I leave that for better people to talk about. There needs to be an S1S. If they took the S1, the hybrid camera, pulled out that hybrid full frame sensor and put a true Super 35 sensor in, Super 35 millimeter sensor in, I think they bang it out of the park, at least for me. The GH5S is sitting at what, $2,300 right now, $2,400. The next step up from that is the Panasonic EVA1, which is like a $7,400, $7 camera. That's a big jump. And I think this new series of cameras could fill in that particular gap. For me, it would be great to have a GH4, but have an S1S. You put in a little bit smaller sensor so that it really appeals to the filmmakers, right? And you double pump it just like you do the VariCam and the EVA1 and the GH5S. And that would be a great combo. Can you imagine GH5S plus an S1S? That'd be a killer combo for any independent filmmaker. My goodness, it'd be incredible, because this is a great time to be a content creator. You know, and when I look at the EVA1 colors, you know, I'm starting, the Panasonic colors are starting to grow on me some, because I've always said on this channel that I never liked the Panasonic colors, but I'm using Panasonic colors with Canon lenses, so it's a little different. I just desaturate it a little bit, and I try to work a little bit better on my white balance, and it's like, okay, this looks good. The people who look at my footage say, hey, it looks good, because it's not really about the colors. It's about telling the story. An S1S would be perfect. And my friends, I am sick and tired of talking today. I'll see you then. See you guys.